Welcome to Al-Mena, a new generation bringing new areas of our fellowship together with unity. All our speakers are shared in our WhatsApp audio groups and our speaker channels. The links will be dropped in the chat. If you're listening to this recording and need help, we have a way out that works. Please reach out and send us an email at ca.almina2026@gmail.com and the crew will reach out and get back to you. We have invited Bowie M from Cape Town, South Africa, to share a message of depth and weight for the next 45 minutes on his experience, strength, and hope. Over to you, brother.
Thank you, guys. What a privilege and honor to be here tonight. Thank you for everyone hosting the meeting. Thank you for Kara for inviting me. And thank you to the newcomer, the most important person in the room. Yeah, my name is Bowie, guys. I am a grateful, recovering addict and alcoholic. And one thing that always touches me is the way we open these meetings, praying for the still suffering addict and alcoholic out there. Because those are the same prayers that got me into the rooms, that with my mother's prayers as well, that got me into the rooms. So without further ado, let me just tell you my story. So guys, my name is Bowie. I was raised in South Africa in the township of Alexandra. I don't know, for some of you, there's like the ghetto or but yeah, a place where there's lots of pain and lots of suffering. And in the same breath, there's like so much energy, so much life, so much pride and dignity. And yeah, so I was raised by my mom, single mom, and my older sister. And my mom was a high school headmaster at the time, at a school in Alexandra Township. And to be very honest with you, she did a very, very, very good job because we weren't rich, we weren't poor, but as a kid, I had a really, really good childhood. I had so many friends. We'd play soccer in the streets, we'd go exploring, we'd do all this kind of fun stuff, and I never felt like I lacked for anything, anything I wanted, I got it, even if it wasn't immediately at the time I wanted it, but my mom worked really hard just to make sure that there was always food on the table. The lights were always on. My sister and I were really, we went to great schools and we got a good education. And, throughout my childhood, there was never alcohol in the house. My mom never drank. My sister has never been a drinker, and I know a lot of us addicts and alcoholics will always say that, we felt like we didn't belong. We felt like we were kind of out of place. And to a certain extent, I agree with it. But with me, I feel like I always felt like I needed to be seen. I always felt like um I needed to do more. Um, and that being said, I excelled at school. I didn't get the greatest marks per se, but I really, really excelled at sports. I love football, I played school football, I played club football. I really excelled. I was able to go to the under 14 World Cup, which was in Sweden at the time. I went to the UK, I played there. I played Denmark. So my life was really, really great. And throughout my life, my childhood, there were times when we'd get together and we'd have little sips of alcohol, nothing too much, nothing to the effect that really got me drunk, But I remember the first time I, my friend and I decided we were going to get alcohol and we were going to get drunk. This was in my last year of primary school, and there was a camp out at our primary school. We could come there with our tents, pitch our tents, and it was a fun thing. You could bring parents along. And my friend and I, we got to the school, we pitched our tent, and we decided to go to his house. And his parents were throwing a party. His aunt gave us, I think, two six-packs of beer. And we went back to the school, we went to the bathrooms, and we downed these beers violently, like aggressively. We were just drinking these things one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And that was the first time, alcohol really, I could say like, geez, I felt the effects fully. And in hindsight, I should have known that alcohol wasn't for me because after that weekend as a prefect in my school, there was there was a situation that happened where obviously I was intoxicated and I said something extremely rude to one of the parents there, and as a result of that, I got my prefect badge taken away. I was stripped of my athletic colors. I was banned from going on any school tour. It was a really, really shameful, embarrassing moment for me and my family. And luckily, the next year I was going to high school, but that says it all for me. And in hindsight, I see it so clearly, like, geez, this was never meant for me. Nonetheless, I went to high school, really, really good high school, a very elite high school, known for its sporting culture. And I did well. I did well. I mean, in my second year at high school, I started playing first team basketball. And in that same year, I was awarded my full sporting colors. And for me, this was the norm for me. This was the kind of person I've always been. I excelled. And what this did for my ego was that I was now um, noticed by the matriculants, the seniors. I could now sit with them at sporting events, and it kind of put me on this pedestal that I always felt that I deserved. This entitlement, like, yeah, this is where I belong, above the rest. And with that being said, the partying started. I remember, how in the rooms they said that this is a progressive disease because that's exactly what it was for me. It started off with me smoking a cigarette or two every Friday. Before I knew it, I was smoking cigarettes in the morning before class. I was smoking cigarettes at every break. And then we started smoking, marijuana, also just on a Friday as a fun thing. Before I knew it, I was smoking it morning, afternoon, evening, day in, day out. And when it came to the weekend, it was party time. I mean, I would get home on a Friday, change out of my school clothes, and I'd literally come back Sunday evening, um, to my mom's amazement, like, what the hell are you doing? And that continued all the way through high school. By the grace of God, I was able to pass my matric. And by that time, I think the cracks were showing because obviously I was using all types of drugs. And this was fun at the time because we were all doing it. It was like a fun, we were the cool guys, we would be going to clubs and it was really, really fun. Once I finished high school, I took a gap year and I had noticed that my drinking wasn't like the same way my friends drank, I'd already been getting some complaints like, yo, Bowie, like, yo, you change when you drink, I become a different person. I'm not the same guy I am when I'm sober, I just change. And yeah, that was, water off a duck's back, should I say. I didn't want to hear it, but I knew something was different. And it took my friends kind of cutting me loose. And no one wanted to be around me. And as my disease progressed. And yeah, it hurt, but all I did was I found other friends, really, really shady characters, guys who drank more than me, guys who smoked more than me, um, guys who chilled on the corners all day, just drinking, smoking, and using whatever they could. And this was me, I found myself hanging out with these guys, that it didn't make sense. Everybody could see it but me. Everybody would be like, why are you hanging out with these people? Like these people, it's not you. And nonetheless, I just continued. I just continued to chill with them. Really, really ominous characters, should I say, people that were doing really, really bad things. And this was not me. I was raised really, really well. Um, I managed to go overseas, get a job overseas in the UK, where I lived there for about 3 to 4 years. And for me, this was even worse because I'm now alone in a foreign country. I've got this freedom, and my addiction just really took off. I did work hard And as we say, I played hard. I remember I would get paid every Thursday evening, a really good amount of money, and every Monday I was broke. Every Monday I was broke. My fellow colleagues at the time, they were saving up money, sending money back home to their families, building, and for me, I was just all about now. I was buying the most expensive clothes, the most expensive sneakers. I was buying a lot of alcohol. I was buying a lot of drugs. And that was like for me, like, yeah, I'm living in the moment. I'm being spontaneous and free. But it got bad, guys. It got really, really bad. I remember I I got the DTs when I was in the UK for the first time. I remember that because I was drinking so much that I couldn't stop shaking. And the more I thought of it, the more I tried to stop the shaking, the more the shaking happened. I don't know how to explain it, but it's the worst thing ever. And I just remember thinking to myself, what if this will never go away? What if I'll be shaking forever? And nonetheless, I just continued. I came back to South Africa. It was around 2009, just before the World Cup was in South Africa, I remember. And I came back to South Africa with my tail between my legs. I had saved no money. I've really done nothing to show that, I was working. And again, I met up with the wrong characters and my addiction progressed into harder drugs. And bear in the beginning of my addiction and my alcoholism, everything was so glamorous. I was using designer drugs, I was drinking really, really expensive bottles of alcohol. Um, but by the time I got back to South Africa, anything did it. It was those drugs that I promised never to do. I was chilling with people that I always told myself I'll never be like those people, but those were the people that I was chilling with. And I honestly, like, that's when I really, really lost myself. I stopped caring about myself. My life was about using. I used to live and live to use. That was my everyday hustle. I went to bed at night thinking of how am I going to use tomorrow? What am I going to steal? What am I going to sell? What am I going to pawn? And we got to a point where, my family themselves didn't want to be around me. I'd wake up in the morning, my mom would be gone the whole day, my sister would be gone the whole day. And this for me was really painful because already I felt alone when I was with people. And I don't know if you can imagine that loneliness that I felt now that like I'm not even with people, like people didn't want to be around me. The only people that liked being around me were the low life characters that I was with. And that was only because they knew that I had that ability to make things happen. Um, Anything went. The lowest of the lowest drugs, I would do it. Like the cheapest wines I would drink, as opposed to back in the day when it was still fun and it was expensive bottles and it was glamorous. I'd literally become the person that I never wanted to become, the person that I looked down on. And I remember I went into my first rehab, um, willingly and just ready to change my life because that was my first rock bottom, you know. And in rehab, I met the wrong kind of characters and I got kicked out of that rehab because I was still using. And I went on using for another 5 years, and things just got worse quicker. There was a time in my life where every month I was getting arrested, at least once every month. Um, Not for anything hectic, but for like just drunken or behavior. There was a time when my mom was calling the police to the house every weekend, and the police would take me, they would lock me up until I sobered up, and then they would let me go. And this became a norm for me. I remember the one time I was locked up in one of these cells, and there was a guy there who was he was being released from a major prison. And he had seen me just last week in that same cell. And, he called me and he said, my brother, oh, like, what's wrong? What's going on with you? You know, like, you must be able to see that your life is not on the right track. Your life is whatever it is you're doing is not working, you know. And after he had that conversation with me, I went into my second rehab. All this, and I'm so grateful because my mom, like I said to you guys, she wasn't a rich person. She was a teacher, and the love and support my mom and my sister gave me this whole way, I'm forever grateful to them. I went into rehab again and again and again until 2019, where I was unrecognizable even to myself, In that space of time, I can guarantee you there's no photo of me, in of at least since like there's a 10-year gap where I made sure I took no photos. You will not see me because I knew how terrible I looked. I knew like I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror, you know. Like we say, I stole the smile off my mother's face and I put it on my dealer's face. Anything my mom would buy for me, anything my sister would buy for me, I would sell it. You know, anything of value in the house, I would sell. I would pawn. There was a time when I remember in my area, my mom and my sister literally had to drive to every pawn shop, show them a picture of me, give them my ID number, and I was banned from every pawn shop in my area, you know. And that didn't stop me. Like it just fueled me, and I just got more and more creative with my ways, selfish and self-centered. That's exactly what I was. Selfish, self-centered, and entitled. I felt entitled to everything. I felt entitled to things that did not belong to me. And I can say this with pride, with proud. Like I was a coward. Like I wouldn't go rob from people I didn't know. I'd rob my family, my mom and my sister, because I knew that they wouldn't put me in jail. It's nothing to be proud of. But at that time, I was so proud of it. I was like, yeah, these are my victims. They're gonna feel my wrath because I knew that they would never take me to jail. And looking back on it, like it just breaks my heart. But it's things that I just choose to remember because today I live a different life. But I'll get to that point. 2019, 27th of June, that's my clean date. So I'm 6 years and 10 months clean today by the grace of God. Um, I remember, going to meetings and I'd meet people that are 30 years clean, 20 years clean, 10 years clean. And I always felt like, now these people have a secret. There's something that these people are doing that they're not telling the rest of us. And I'll always ask them, I'll always make a point to walk up to them, pull them to the side and be like, really, man, how did you do this? Like, how is it even possible? And I get so angry because they'd always tell me the same thing, one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time. And I felt like, no ways, man, this is just not possible. I gotta maneuver into the inner circle because then I can get the secret. And today I just laugh at it because it is just one day at a time. Today I understand that when I make an effort, it pleases God, the God of my understanding. And like one of my favorite speakers, Peter M, says, he's like, these steps are literally a map that lead to a treasure. And it's just a beautiful way to think of it because I like to think of myself as a creative. When I think of all the creative ways I used to have to find drugs and alcohol at any cost and mean. And that's how I think of the steps today. They are literally a treasure map. They're a map that lead to a treasure. And today, I mean, I couldn't have even imagined the life I live today. Just before this meeting, I was barbecuing some meat for my family. You know, um, I went and I saw my mom today. She doesn't live that far away from me. I was with my sister yesterday. Today I've got a beautiful fiance. We've got two kids. I just got a second job. And when I think of my days in active addiction, how I struggled to sleep, even my days in early recovery. I couldn't, it would take me like an hour to sleep, man. I would like toss and turn and my mind was just racing and just thoughts and racing. And today, you know, I wake up, I get up, I dress up, show up to what I need to do. I do what I say I'm gonna do. And by the time my day is over, my pillow hits the head and I'm asleep. These are the small things I'm grateful for today. Like that, I enjoy my sleep, because my day is so full. This program taught me how to add value. You know, I need to add value everywhere I go. To whoever I meet, I need to add value because for so long, for 20 years, 20 odd years, I was just a leech, just taking, taking, taking. And today, I'm a totally different person. And it's only through this program. It's only through, the 12 steps that I have what I have today. I mean, in my mind, I only have a couple of 24 hours clean and sober, but I can honestly say that it's like I'm living in the fourth dimension, man. I'm content. I still have my dreams and goals and things that I need to do, but as I am today, I'm living the dream. And it's all because of people like every one of you who are in this meeting, because I could tell you guys the worst thing about me. I could tell you guys the worst things that I've done, and you guys will be like, keep coming back, man. You know, After countless relapses, um, and that embarrassment of, oh, I have to go back there. I want to see the same people. It was never like that. You guys always welcomed me back. You guys always told me, keep coming back, man. Stick with the winners. You guys always showed me love. You guys showed me and taught me how to love myself. You loved me until I actually started loving myself. And I can honestly say today that the best decision I have made in my entire life was to choose the road of recovery. There's nothing better that I've done in my life. I chose to disconnect from my higher power. And today, I stay plugged into my higher power. I stay plugged into this program. I stay plugged into people like you, like-minded people. Um, I mean, it's Easter Sunday, and it hit me today like what a honor and a privilege to be sharing on Easter Sunday. You know, the God of my understanding. He's risen today. He rose today, and today I feel like I'm living a different life too. I feel like I died. I died spiritually, in active addiction. I died. Like this is, and today I'm living a totally different life. So, the way in my mind I see this, like, yo, I also was blessed enough to rise again, because the person I was, and throughout my whole addiction, I never saw that I was a bad person. I never. And I know the big book tells me that I was judging myself by my intentions, while the world was judging me by my actions. I used to say, man, I love my mom, man. I love my sister. And yet those are the people I was stealing from, I was lying to, I was manipulating. And it just made it so clear to me that this is what happens. I became so maladjusted to life. And through the steps, man, the steps really made me face some difficult truths. I had to accept that I wasn't loving them. That wasn't me loving them. That was me. I was treating them like someone I hate, someone I despise. And yet in my mind, I thought that, yo, I still love these people. Today, I go above and beyond for my family and my loved ones. Today I am that son that I robbed my mother of for so many years. I'm that brother that I robbed my sister of that many years. I'm an uncle. I'm a husband to be. I'm a son-in-law. I am a father. And I just thank my higher power every day that, my children have never seen me drunk or sober. I mean, drunk or high before, you know. And God willingly, they will never, they'll never have to see that version of me. Today, I stay plugged into the program because I will never shut the door on my past. I don't dwell on it and live on it, but I'll never shut the door on the past because I know that I need that to remember where I am today. You know, when I look at how many friends I've lost to this disease, shit becomes real, real quick, and I understand the seriousness of this disease that we're dealing with, you know. Today you know, I was just saying to one of my friends that the same people that would cross the road when they saw me coming, the same people that would say, like, "Ah, look at how useless he is. Look at this piece of shit. Look at how dumb he is. He has everything in life, but look at the life he chooses to live." God found a reason for me to become useful again. Those are the same people that are calling me up today and saying, Bowie, look here, man, my cousin is using drugs. Hey, Bowie, look here, man, I need your help, man. My aunt she's an alcoholic. And I do whatever I can to help. And I'm just like, sure, my higher power is just yeah, the end all and be all, because he's given me a new way to live. He's given me a new purpose. And it's all through you guys. Like I said to you guys, when we pray for the still suffering addicts and alcoholics out there, I always remember that I was once one of those suffering alcoholics and addicts, you know. And sorry, I'm hopping all over the place. And now I know why I kept on relapsing. It's because I get to step 9 and be like, yeah, I'm clean and sober. Like, yeah, I don't need to do step 12 or 11. That self-will, that ego, that still creeps back every now and again. Until 2019, I said to myself, I'm going to do this exactly as I'm told to do this. I'm not going to change a thing. I'm not going to enter it. I'm not going to put myself in it. I'm just going to do it. And I did. And I'll never forget my sponsor telling me that, Pa, we try this out. Give it a try for 1 year. And if it doesn't work for you, we will refund you your misery. And that just stuck with me. I was like, geez, it seemed brutal. It seemed brutal at the time. But today, it's the same thing I say to people that I'm sponsoring. Try it for a year. If it doesn't work, we'll refund you your misery. Um, Today I just live such a blessed life. The people that I've met in these rooms are just the best people ever. They understand me. You know, I understand them. And I will forever be grateful to this program. And I'll forever stay plugged into this program. Because this is who I am, you know. Um, my life is just different. My life doesn't belong to me anymore, you know. My life belongs to my higher power, for him to use me as he sees fit. Because I know that he will always do things better than I can even do them, or better than I could even imagine, doing. He knows what's right for me. Page 417. That is a book that's the chapter that always keeps me grounded. Acceptance is the key. When things are not going my way, I'm reminded to accept. I had some scary times. I lost my job, but I just accepted and I got another job, and there was never a break in my employment. So I lost this job, and in 1, 2 days, I think I lost a job on a Friday. By the Monday, I was starting a new job, you know, just by trusting the process, trusting my higher power, just by me getting out of the way. Because the minute I get in the way, the minute I start driving the car, it crashes, you know. I try to avoid a lot of the war stories, you know. But just to tell you guys, I had a bad accident in 2010 where I lost the sight in my right eye. And I remember the nurse coming to me while I was in the hospital and she gave me these hospital clothes and she said, "Yeah, you need to put these on." And I remember asking her, why do I need to put these on? I mean, I had a bandage around my whole face. I could just like, because literally the bandage was covering my whole face. I said, "Why must I wear these?" And she said, "No, no, you need to wear these so that you don't run away." And I was so shocked. I was like, "Run away, go where? Where would I go?" I said, "No, I'm not going to wear these clothes. I've got my own clothes. Thank you very much." And the minute she left, I took the drip that was hanging there. Like I put it in my pants. I hid it like nicely. I walked out of the hospital and there I was in the streets trying to get some alcohol and drugs. And and I got them. And I got them. And I remember walking back to the hospital. The nurse that was busy with me day in, day out, her shift just ended and she was heading home and we crossed each other in the streets. And she was like, "What the heck are you doing here?" And I'm like, "No, don't worry. I'm heading back to the hospital now. And and that was just like normal for me. Like the insanity of it all. I could have gotten meningitis if one thing went wrong, you know. But by the grace of God, like it's just things that I just choose not to forget because they're just such clear indicators of where I was in my mind, you know. Today I understand that my mind is a predator. Like I can't, my mind is a dangerous neighborhood, you know. It's a dangerous neighborhood that I can't stay in for long, you know. I can't afford to. Um, Today, like, I lead with my spirit, my soul, you know. Today I outsource my thinking. I speak to my loved ones, I speak to my sponsor about things. I get clarity, I get someone with an objective view because sometimes my thinking, um, yeah, is something I don't trust anymore, you know. And so far, so good. Like I say, I'm just living the best life. I'm not where I want to be, but I thank God every day I'm not where I used to be. Um, I don't know how much time I've got left, but my name is Bowie, and I truly am a grateful alcoholic and addict. And thank you guys. Thank you for letting me share. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's like, Cara, can you click off recording?